Iruma is a hopeless boy suffering from underpaid child labor who gets sold off to a freaky demon to become his grandchild. On a tuna fishing boat where he worked like a slave, Sullivan showed up and took him to the netherworld. On the way, the demon told Iruma that his parents had sold his soul, and this wasn't surprising to the boy at all. With Iruma being the greatest pushover in the world, he quickly accepted to become the grandchild of the freaky old demon. Sadly, his suffering was only the beginning. Sullivan told him he would be enrolled in a demon school since he'd been a slave all his life and never went to school. As Iruma referred to Sullivan as Grandpa, the demon looked like he was going to have the greatest climax anyone had ever seen. Sullivan soaked him with some perfume that would hide his scent so that the demons in the school wouldn't know that he was human. He also told Iruma that if he had declined his request, the boy would have been turned into a shish kebab for the night. After that, Sullivan left the room and bumped into his servant, Opera, who told him that he was deranged for adopting a human instead of another demon. Sullivan told his servant that his brain was too inept to understand. The next day, Iruma woke up and realized that he wasn't dreaming at all. After getting dressed up, Sullivan takes him out for his first picture day. He cast a spell on Iruma that would allow him to read demon language and understand it. With that done, they walked until they came into view of the demon school, Babel's. Iruma stood in awe while a flock of demon students flew over him to the school. Unfortunately, he would never attain such cool features. At the gate, he was abandoned to fend for himself, while the rest went to attend to more important things. Iruma got to the auditorium and was seated while hoping not to get eaten by the demons all around him. The entrance ceremony began with a song dedicated to the destruction of humans. Then Iruma found out that his crazy grandpa was the school's director as well. Sullivan introduced him to the whole school and made sure that it was impossible for Iruma to keep a low profile. After that, he transformed into his Humpty Dumpty state and left the ceremony. The first-year representative, Asmodeus, was supposed to give a speech, but Sullivan made Iruma steal his spotlight. With Sullivan's guidance, Iruma read out a forbidden spell that would prevent him from falling down. When he was done, the students cheered him on because he was the only one stupid enough to read a spell that would have killed him on the spot. Asmodeus then challenged him to a duel because he couldn't stand the thought of a neglected child stealing his shrine. Thanks to Iruma's unfortunate upbringing, he was able to dodge every single fireball that Asmodeus threw at him. For once in his life, his parents' stupidity was useful to him. The rest of the students assumed that Asmodeus was a worthless bug who wasn't worth Iruma's time. In the middle of the fight, a girl in the audience was about to get hurt, but Iruma gave Asmodeus the greatest German suplex to save the girl. All thanks to the spell he chanted earlier. Later on, Asmodeus offered himself as Iruma's servant and was ready to help him take over the school. That's how a hopeless, overworked child began his path to high school dominance. The next day, Iruma woke up from a nightmare to see that he was actually living it. As much as he wanted it to be a dream, he definitely had a deranged, old, demonic man as his grandfather. At the breakfast table, Iruma ate like a wretch who hadn't seen food in years. He tried to tell Sullivan that he didn't want to attend the demon school anymore. But before he could let it out, Sullivan swarmed him with a lot of gifts to start his first day at the school. Iruma, being a useless wimp, couldn't muster up the courage to tell him again. As he left, Sullivan was about to tail him and take videos, but Opera dragged the old fool back into the house. At least there's still someone reasonable in this show. Iruma walked to school like a poor peasant, while the rest of the students soared through the skies. As he got there, he met Asmodeus, who had been waiting over 6 hours just to carry his bags. That suplex definitely did a lot of damage to his brain. Since they were in the same group, they left together to prepare for the familiar summoning ritual, which would determine the class they would be in. At the venue, Aiko, the girl who Iruma saved earlier, tried to talk to him. But their teacher, Nabirius, stormed into the place while looking like he caught someone sleeping with his wife. Nabirius hated Iruma because he was favored as the grandson of Sullivan. He gave the students some summoning parchments with his seal to prevent them from cheating. On the other hand, Asmodeus was ready to make Nabirius a fellow servant if Iruma gave the order. When it got to his turn, Asmodeus summoned a fire-breathing Gorgon snake. Iruma hoped that he would fail the test so that he could go back to his underpaid child labor days. At the same time, Nabirius was ready to expel the boy just because of his relationship with the school's chairman. In a shocking turn of events, Iruma ended up summoning Nabirius in an embarrassing form as a small, fluffy creature with bat wings and horns. This made the students believe that Iruma was stronger than Nabirius. The foolish teacher tried to retaliate, but got the contract punishment and was zapped back to his little senses. They both met Sullivan to talk about the matter, and the chairman told them that the familiar contracts last for about a year, and there was no way to break them. This meant Nabirius' suffering was just starting, and the shock from this made him bedridden for some days. Iruma's status in the school continued to get bigger, and Asmodeus, being the literal servant from hell, wasn't making it any better. They bumped into a crazy girl known as Clara, who seemed to be suffering from a severe case of ADHD. Asmodeus warned Iruma not to speak to her, but he barely even got a chance to react to the crazy ball of energy. Asmodeus explained that Clara was a complete crackhead, and most people try their best to avoid her. A teacher who came to stop Clara's ruckus immediately wrapped her up with Asmodeus and Iruma and sent them away together. Asmodeus tried to flee with his master, but Iruma, being a pushover, couldn't decline when Clara pleaded for them to play with her. Iruma became a plaything for the crackhead, while Asmodeus couldn't believe what his master had become. Asmodeus was eventually dragged in when Iruma asked him to play with them. Just like that, the total IQ needed for that scene dropped significantly. The two boys were out of energy after playing for 2 hours, but Clara was like a self-rechargeable battery that would never run out of juice. While they rested, Clara revealed that she could replicate any item she had seen before. Some students then come along and treat her like their personal pet and vending machine before leaving. Clara then explained that she does things for them so that they can play with her. But she has yet to realize that she is a slave. After some time, Iruma made the poor girl cry by rejecting her gifts and bribes. He then explained that he'd still play with her without the gifts. And in that brief moment, he could have done some serious, adult things with the way Clara was feeling. Clara got boosted with so much joy that it would have probably taken an eternity for her to run out of it. The guys from earlier came back to ask for drinks, and Clara hurled an entire vending machine at them. She had no need to answer their requests, since Iruma was going to fulfill all her urges and fantasies. After that, she and Iruma ended up using Asmodeus for target practice. The next morning, Clara and Asmodeus were at the gate, waiting for Iruma. His Humpty Dumpty grandpa was just really happy that he was finally able to make friends. But Iruma didn't know if friends was the right term to use. After that, the trio walked to school. At the school cafeteria, Iruma finds out that the kind of food you can order depends on your class rank. Some rascals ended up ordering a huge amount of food and sending it to Iruma's table. Asmodeus wanted to quickly take care of the fools, but quickly found out that Iruma was not only a hopeless child, but a gluttonous one at that. The chef even passed out because he couldn't keep up with the boy's stomach. Clara got in trouble with the food stall owner because of her food replicating abilities. Naberius came to settle the issue, but Clara tricked Iruma into turning Naberius into his bat form while they ran away. The stall owner caught Naberius, who then had to pay for the mischievous nature of his master. Later on, Asmodeus and Clara agreed to be Iruma's friends after learning what the concept of friendship is. Meanwhile, in a school faculty meeting, it was decided that the three of them would be put in the Misfits class for being problem children. The next day, Sullivan revealed to Iruma that he'd been put in a class of troublemakers because he didn't want to stand out. It was a little bit too late for that, but he told Iruma that he would also be in the class with Asmodeus and Clara. On the way to school, Asmodeus finally asked why Iruma walked to school like a peasant, but he just assumed every day was leg day for him. When they got to school, they saw the list of class distributions, with their own boldly framed, so that everyone would know that they were a crazy bunch. Meanwhile, Aiko was about to curse her fate because she wasn't in the same class as Iruma. An arrow guide then led them to the trenches of the Netherworld, where their class awaited them. A bunch of traps were sprung as Iruma opened the door, but his evasive nature saved his life. His classmates, who set up the trap, gambled on whether he would live to see another day or not. A brutish meathead then introduced himself as Sabnok, and he said he was aiming to become the Demon King. Sabnok explained the different demon ranks, with Yada being the strongest rank. The Demon King would then be chosen from among those in the Yada rank. Sabnok ended up in the Misfits class because he decided to fight a teacher on the first day of school. Nabiria stormed into the class and nearly became a corpse because of the armed booby traps. After taking the attendance, he took them outside to determine their ranks. The students were to race through a dangerous valley and then reach the flag at the end of the course. Nabirius then warned them about the guardian of the valley and told them to avoid it at all costs. Sabnok, with his useless brain, decided the best way to win was to fight the demon. The race started, and everyone brought out their wings and flew, except for Iruma, who picked the shortest straw in life. Nabirius got impatient and just pushed him off the cliff before going to wait for them at the finish line. He pulled up a monitor and watched how the students were performing. The greatest degenerate of the class came was seen trying to get the favor of some ladies. The entire class was full of idiots, and Asmodeus looked like the only decent person. Thanks to Clara's crackhead nature, Asmodeus's path became more difficult. Sabnock, on the other hand, was going through trials and tribulations, since he took the most perilous path. Meanwhile, Iruma was caught by a demon crow as he fell. The crow then dropped him in the guardian's nest with its baby. Iruma's blood dropped on the baby bird's injury, and that's when he found out that his blood was an all-curing elixir for demons. After that, the grateful baby flew Iruma to the flag. On the other side, Sabnock got beat to a pulp by the Guardian. Sabnock revealed that he wanted to become the Demon King because it was the coolest thing ever, and so that he could prove that he was better than his pacifist older brother. He charged at the Guardian with his weapon creation skills, but the Guardian swatted him away like a fly. Just when he was about to meet his maker, Iruma showed up to protect him. The Guardian's baby then stopped it from turning the two boys into minced meat. Sabnock wanted to use the opportunity to strike again, but Iruma convinced the fool to let go of his weapon before they would become nothing but a folk tale. The Guardian was pacified, and it bowed in thanks alongside its child. Meanwhile, Asmodeus came first at the finish line, followed by Clara, who rode him like a mule. Naberius was about to abandon Iruma, but he came in last with Sabnock, while they rode on the back of the Guardian. Despite their grand entrance, they were punished at the naughty boys' corner, while Naberius announced their ranks. Sabnock then apologized to Iruma and dubbed him his rival. While getting the ranks, Asmodeus got the 4th rank, while Clara got the 3rd. Iruma's turn came, and he got a gold ring, unlike the normal rank badges that everyone else got. Maybe someone was trying to propose to him. Sabnock looked at the ring and recalled what was said in the Demon King's scroll prophecy. It said that the Demon King would make all the demons his slaves, descend from a foreign land, and wear the golden ring of Solomon on his right hand. I guess you could say it also means that the Demon King would have a huge harem. A black flame demon appeared from the ring, and Iruma started freaking out. His classmates avoided him like he was a repulsive creature. Eventually, Clara was able to use her frog voice to sing a lullaby and calm down the demon. Sabnock tried to challenge the demon, but it just tapped his cheek and drained his powers. The same thing happened to Asmodeus before Naberius felt a threatening aura from the demon. He tried to end Iruma, but Sullivan popped out of nowhere to save his grandchild. Sullivan scolded Naberius and fed the demon some magical power to keep it at bay. He then explained that Iruma got the gluttonous feeder ring, which stores the magical powers of its wearer. He also told Iruma that he was bound to the ring for life, just like his misfortune. After that, they all took a group photo, and their first lesson finally ended. Since Iruma's rank wasn't measurable, he automatically got the lowest rank. Asmodeus, who loves to suck on Iruma's windpipe, was angry about the ranking on his behalf. In the end, Iruma grew more popular, thanks to his feats with the Guardian and the Golden Ring. Clara continued to gloat in Iruma's face because she was ranked higher. But Iruma couldn't be bothered with that nut job. Iruma's status in school continued to blow out of proportion as Sullivan took him to school in a royal carriage. When they got to school, Opera rolled out a red carpet for him and announced his arrival. All that was remaining was for him to attend a ball and find a lady to clap for the rest of his life. Asmodeus, the demonic windpipe glazer, was so excited about the way Iruma came to school. Before he could tell Iruma anything, Clara launched herself like a heat-seeking missile at him while being wrapped up in the red carpet. The two of them ended up fighting, and Opera somehow got dragged into it. Sullivan gave Iruma his bag and also wanted to give him a new cell phone he got for his grandson. Sadly, Iruma disappeared before the old man could make him any more famous. In class, Asmodeus and Clara tried to cheer Iruma up. While Asmodeus was being reasonable with his methods, Clara was clinging onto him like a crazy ex-girlfriend. They went to botany class, where their teacher, Susie, taught them how to use their powers to grow demonic plants. Sabnock created a crazy plant, just like him, that eats anything it sees. Asmodeus created a burning plant that shows his desire to continue glazing Iruma for all eternity. Everyone else created plants that matched their personalities, including Clara, who made something that shouldn't exist. Just as Iruma tried to bloom his flower over, Sullivan called to tell him that he could use the magic stored in the ring. Unfortunately, he forgot to adjust the output, so Iruma ended up sprouting a large cherry blossom tree that destroyed the class. The student council president, Amiri, recognized the tree as a plant that only existed in the human world. On her way to speak to Iruma, she dealt with some delinquents and gave them the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be stepped on by her. Something degenerates like you would die to have a taste of, I'm sure. Thanks to Iruma's explosive seeds, she suspected he was human, and also revealed that demons didn't believe humans actually existed. Amiri headed off to a secret library where ancient relics, which are just Japanese manga, have been passed down in her family through generations. Her family had an obsession with the First Love Memory series, which was just a love story manga. Despite not being able to read Japanese, Amiri looked like her own seeds would bloom while she looked at the pictures. She concluded that it was just a book of human charms that was used to cast love spells. On the botany tower, Iruma stayed back to help clean up the mess, but Clara just made everything worse. Asmodeus came to help him, but Iruma sent him home with the crackhead girl. On his way out, he bumped into Amiri, and the scene looked like one of the awkward ones in the manga she reads. She assumed Iruma was trying to implant his seeds in her, and concluded that he was human. Iruma thought Amiri was furious with him, while she thought that he was trying to use a love spell on her. He tried to explain himself, but she stopped his movements because she wasn't about to let his wild seeds run amok. They ended up stuck in the same position, which made Amiri drop the love manga. Iruma picked it up and recognized the book from when he helped illustrate it to make some money. Amiri quickly forgot about her worries when Iruma revealed that he could read the book. She dragged him to her office, where she made him read the book out loud to her. Thanks to Iruma being a pushover, he couldn't say no to her desires. Not only did he reveal that he was human by reading the book, but he also got to see that Amiri was nothing but a delusional fangirl, like most human girls. It got really late, so Amiri put her number in his phone and told him to appear any time she needed him. Basically, Iruma became a plaything to fulfill her wants. Amiri decided she wasn't going to report Iruma until they were done with the manga. The next day, Iruma was conflicted about whether he should enjoy his new life or return to his child labor ways. Opera then told him that he could go back to the human world if he graduated with a high rank. In school, Amiri was trying not to feel embarrassed when she thought of the perfect text to use and summon Iruma. Meanwhile, in the cafeteria, Amiri's competition, Aiko, was watching the love of her life as he ate like a glutton. Iruma got summoned, and he left Asmodeus and Clara, who were trying to stuff him with more food. As he left, they became suspicious about him always disappearing on them. Sabnok suggested that they spy on him, and Asmodeus refused, but Clara wasted no time to follow him. Asmodeus then had no choice but to follow her. During a student council meeting, Amiri left quickly because she couldn't wait to go on a date with Iruma. On the other hand, Clara was screaming Iruma's name everywhere and completely had no idea what being a spy meant. Asmodeus decided that they should get detection-warding glasses while tailing their friend. When they came across Iruma and Amiri, Asmodeus assumed that he was trying to take over the student council and reign over the school, while Clara was upset because she thought they were playing a game without her. In Amiri's office, she listened like a good puppy, while Iruma read the manga to her. After reading a bit of the manga and listening to Amiri's ambitions, Amiri asked him about his ambitions. That's when Iruma realized that he didn't have any ambitions in life, and that he was fine with being a slave to people's requests. It's no surprise that his parents sold him off. Asmodeus tried to stop both himself and Clara from barging into the room and interrupting Iruma's plans. Meanwhile, Iruma passed out after Amiri asked about his dreams. Amiri asked him to think of an ambition on the spot, but his brain decided to go off as if it were in a math test. She then suggested that he start small and try to climb the demon ranks. At that moment, the door burst open, and Clara dragged Iruma away from her competition. Clara hung onto Iruma like butter on bread. Amiri permitted them to leave and said she'd wait for Iruma to climb the ranks and stand beside her. Clara couldn't sleep at night because she felt Amiri was stealing Iruma from her. The next day, she went to complain to Saburo, and he told her to use her feminine charms on Iruma. In order to accomplish her plan, Clara decided to attend Raim's seduction class. Raim is a succubus who could get it any time if she ever wanted. Clara was determined to take all of Iruma's white seeds for herself. In Raim's class, Kame seemed to have snuck in because he couldn't control his ludicrous urges. After kicking him out, Raim measured the sexiness of her students, and Clara was as good as another boy in the class. Clara's innocence was too much for Raim to handle, so he gave her a few textbooks to see if they could help. Clara began testing out each technique she learned, but each time Iruma would think that she was playing a game. After numerous failed attempts, she went back home to her crackhead siblings. Her mood was lifted when her mom planted a kiss on her forehead. With this, Clara was set back on the course for Iruma's windpipe dominance. The next day, Clara planned to lay it down on her love. But Iruma dodged the crisis, and she ended up hitting Naberius. After that, Raim told her that she wasn't cut out for the seduction life. She offered to give Clara a perfume that would work as a charm, but Clara refused. Iruma approached her as she was sulking and acknowledged that he saw her as a girl. Clara then swore to make him her man one day. Iruma's heart beat for her as she said that, and it was quite shocking for him. When Raim saw the both of them running around, Clara's sexiness had gone up to 10% from the 2% it was on earlier. The next day, Iruma told Asmodeus that he wanted to increase his rank. He asked Asmodeus to help him increase his rank, and he said he just wanted to get to the second rank, which was bet. Asmodeus took it overboard and said he'd prepare to get Iruma to the highest rank and take over the school. The whole school thought he was going too far with glazing Iruma's meat. Aiko, on the other hand, was too blindsided by love to be bothered. Iruma explained that he was okay with the second rank, and Asmodeus assumed there was some other hidden plot behind that. Together with Clara, they went to the underground gym. Asmodeus said that Iruma could only go up in the ranks if he passed the rank promotion exams with good grades. The exams were coming up in a week, and they would be tested in something called execution cannonball. It's kind of like dodgeball, but with a lot more unnecessary violence. They used weapons called caimans, which would bite down on their target until they were nothing but a tombstone. Luckily, they don't use those monstrosities anymore. Iruma's practice was going well until his classmates showed up to join him, and they started using their powers to try and kill each other. Iruma realized there was no way he would advance like this and get to be in Amiri's bosom. He then went to meet Sullivan to ask for help with his training. Sullivan wanted his grandson to use the power of the ring and ace the competition, but Iruma felt like it was cheating. To grant his wishes, Sullivan fortified Iruma's hands so he could at least catch the ball thrown by the demons. After that, Opera took over Iruma's training session. All the boy could do was dodge, but it wouldn't be enough to raise his rank unless he could actually hit his opponent. Iruma probably went to heaven and back before his training session ended for the day. The next day, the torture continued, and he still couldn't stop his body from evading the ball. Asmodeus and Clara came to be his cheerleaders while he trained. Sullivan asked for a report on his progress from Opera, who said that Iruma had yet to actually catch a ball. But at least he was having fun. After many days of dreadful training, Iruma was finally able to catch a ball without peeing on himself. Opera then deemed him ready for the promotion exam. The exam day came, and Iruma was feeling nervous, despite eating enough food to feed the nation. Opera advised him to turn his fear into excitement, while sipping on tea meant for Sullivan. After that, he went to school with Asmodeus and Clara. Everyone at school was looking forward to seeing how he would perform that day. At the gym, Naberius explained that their promotions would be determined by the winning team and the rank of the opponents they hit. Sadly, Iruma and Asmodeus ended up on different teams to balance out the power differences. Asmodeus was about to blow his top, but decided to help out Iruma from the opposing side. His team ended up filled with idiots. and they started eliminating themselves before the game barely started. Clara made things worse by sprouting different kinds of balls all over the court. Amid the chaos, Iruma was able to find the real ball and grab it. That's when he remembered that he had never learned how to throw the ball. Meanwhile, Asmodeus was daydreaming about how to ride Iruma's windpipe even more and help him out. Sabnock took the ball and attacked Asmodeus to wake him up from his dream. Asmodeus just caught the ball and threw it back, which sent the meathead out of the game. Clara, who couldn't learn from what Sabnock did, attempted the same attack and got sent out. One by one, people were getting knocked out until it was just Asmodeus and Iruma left on the court. Asmodeus was conflicted between giving up the match easily to help his master or actually challenging him and not disgrace him. He decided he wouldn't make a fool of Iruma and would take on the challenge with his full strength. Amiri then arrived to watch her prince in shining armor. Asmodeus threw a flaming spinning ball with all his might, and Iruma ran forward to catch it. Seeing that the ball was too powerful to hold, he used the momentum to spin around and send the ball right back at Asmodeus, who got hit with his own power. Iruma was declared the winner, and his teammates celebrated his cool tactics. For some reason, Iruma switched places with Clara, and they started cheering her on. But let's not get into that. Nabirius was impressed with Iruma's skills and promoted him to the bet rank. After that, he left like a grumpy old fool who had never gotten laid in his life. Sabnock asked for his rank to be raised, but Nabirius declined. Amiri came to congratulate Iruma on his performance. Clara saw her and was ready to rip out her limbs. But Asmodeus stopped the nutjob from doing anything stupid. Iruma was happy that he was finally able to develop ambition towards something in his miserable life. After that, he got home and announced the good news to Opera and Sullivan. He thanked Opera for helping him during his training. Sullivan started throwing a tantrum when he realized he was absent like a deadbeat grandpa through Iruma's training phases. In school, Iruma continued reading the manga for Amiri while she sat and listened like a lost puppy. He lost his focus and started remembering the exam day and how he felt so happy about winning and overcoming his fears. Amiri called him back to his senses, and he continued acting like a degenerate for her. When it was time for classes, she left. Iruma was lost in thought again about what his ambition should be and what he should aim for next. In the Misfits class, a new teacher, Boss Robin, came to teach them about familiars. Robin wasted no time in letting his students know that he had no sense of time and is probably a crackhead like Clara. He started the first lesson by teaching them how to bond with their familiars. Asmodeus summoned his Gorgon snake, which made Sabnock see it as a competition, and he went ahead to summon his Kelby. On Clara's turn, she summoned a Falfal, which ended up making Clara its pet. The Falfal communicated with her telepathically and sent her to get a red bean bun for it. Before you could blink, Clara had become the familiar, and Falfal was her master. Iruma refused to summon his own, but he couldn't resist Robin when he said please. While Nabirius was receiving a complaint about him being a mean teacher, Iruma popped him out like a legendary Pokemon. The furious Nabirius then got struck by lightning when he tried to retaliate. He decided to drill some basic lessons into Iruma and told him that he had no choice but to get the best grades in the familiar and summoning classes. Nabirius began playing embarrassing games that would haunt him for the rest of his life in order to help with Iruma's grades. Iruma continued to apologize for being a nuisance because he didn't want Nabirius to send him to his maker. The fluffy teacher asked Iruma why he wasn't summoned when he encountered the guardian of Cutthroat Valley. Iruma told him that he didn't want the guardian or his fluffiness to get hurt. Asmodeus and Sabnok got into a fight with their familiars, so Nabirius defeated the monsters to teach them a lesson. Nabirius explained that familiars need to be feared as well as trusted, just like Iruma does. He also questioned Robin's teaching style and told the crackhead teacher to do better. Later in the cafeteria, some girls crushed Iruma under their essence while trying to get Asmodeus' attention. They felt he was still a first-grade demon, and later apologized when they found out that he had increased his rank. Due to that, they abandoned Asmodeus and decided to make Iruma their love target. After that, Iruma finds out about battlers from Asmodeus, a group of students who work together to help each other raise their ranks, just like regular school clubs. When Iruma highlighted his interest in joining the battlers, Asmodeus prepared him for the rookie hunt, a scenario where crazy upperclassmen with a thirst for blood in their eyes look for first-year students to recruit. Some seniors came to recruit Asmodeus, but he put up a flame barrier to keep them away from him and Iruma. The hunt was so brutal that the first years were definitely scarred for life and put in serious danger. It was like watching a Roman execution ground. Amiri and the student council then showed up to calm down the chaos, while Iruma finally realized that she was the council president. Towering over Iruma with the aura of a mother, Amiri offered him to join the student council battlers. It was basically an invitation to make their dates more frequent. In the Misfit class, Nabirius told them that there would be a 3-day trial battler period where they could try different ones before permanently joining one of them. Iruma kept getting many requests thanks to his reputation in school. Clara kept showing interest in Raimi's seduction battler group. It's only a matter of time before she's carrying Iruma's offspring. Iruma's ring suddenly started glowing, and it dragged him through the air like a piece of paper. He crashed into a student named Kiryu, who nearly died from the impact. Iruma's ring reacted to Kiryu's necklace because they were made from the same metal. Despite being an upperclassman, Kiryu is of the same rank as Iruma, which makes him unbelievably weak and hopeless. He used some kind of alluring charm on Iruma, which would make you question just what type he's interested in. After that, Iruma continued to explore the different groups, while Clara nearly died with each new encounter. Later on, Sullivan altered Iruma's ring so he could choose the level of magic that he wanted to use. He gave it 3 regular levels: Devil, Demon, and Ifrit, with a 4th mode, Pandarula, which should only be used in emergencies. The next day, he continued checking out the various battler groups. Clara couldn't decide which to join and acted like a kid who was given different kinds of candy. Iruma decided to check out the execution cannonball battler. The captain of the group tested him, and Iruma displayed a very disappointing effort in throwing the ball. He still had an offer to join them before leaving. He then got a text from Amiri that reminded him to come and check out the student council by all means. Meanwhile, Asmodeus was trying to stop Clara from running around like a deranged child. Iruma was enjoying his chat session with Amiri when he was caught in a sudden explosion. He then came across Kiryu, who was the culprit of the ruckus. Who exactly is this crazy Kiryu? And why is he always so close to death? Will Iruma join Kiryu's battler, or join Amiri in the student council and rest in her bosom for the rest of his life? Find out next time. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.